Chair. You know, I wish I could feign just incredible surprise at the lack of responsiveness here, but it is par for the course with this administration. We often have witnesses that come before us, and I can't call it anything other than what it is. It's stonewalling. It's obstructing. And I just want to make something very clear. This is not about your answering just to this committee. You're answering to the American people. And this emergency hearing was called because of a rallying cry, a public outcry, an outrage. Now, our chairman rightfully says that it's unfair to make you all the fall guys, but I think it's not right to make you the fall guys to defend a policy that you can't. Not because you don't have the answers, but because the policy is indefensible. There's really not much that you could offer. But nevertheless, we persist. And so let me just pick back up again on the 33 days. I want to talk about Jonathan Sanchez from my district, 16 years old, who endured a great, not knowing what life holds for him in the future, or if he will be able to preserve and maintain his life. Sat here for a number of hours, enduring demoralizing and a dehumanizing environment by many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. And so if he could deal with that, you can deal with this. So Jonathan Sanchez testified earlier today. Jonathan has cystic fibrosis, and he testified that doctors in Honduras, where he is from, did not even know what cystic fibrosis was. I'm not sure if you heard his testimony earlier, but his youngest sister died as a result of cystic fibrosis in Honduras because they did not understand her disease or how to treat her. 33 days is certainly not enough time to arrange for travel, housing, medical equipment, translating medical records, or the many other steps that would be needed to transport a critically ill child to another country. Simply put, it's a death sentence for many of these patients. Mr. Renaud, when the administration decided to end deferred action, was any thought put into what will happen to the critically ill children and their families?
I think that the thought was that we would follow our notice to appear memo, which applies to all cases, which is I described earlier. We would provide people a standard period of time by which, or at which time, we would review their case and determine whether it was appropriate and in the government's best interest to issue them a notice to appear.
And again, just on the time frame, was that specific window considered sufficient given the extenuating circumstances and the fragility of these individuals' medical state?
I think, again, that there seems to be an assumption in that question that there would be an NTA coming at the end of those 33 days. Okay. And what I'm saying is that would be an opportunity for us to issue prosecutorial discretion and decide not to issue a notice to appear.
All right. Mr. Renaud, when USCIS ordered Jonathan to leave the country in 33 days, did you consider the fact that treatment for that disease is unavailable in Honduras?
I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, ma'am, but we did not order anyone to leave the country. That's not our role. If you go back to my written testimony, I describe what our role is and what it isn't. USCIS does not order people to leave the country.
It does seem we're missing each other here, and yeah, because it's inconsistent with what the families testified to and the letters that they provided to substantiate and corroborate their experiences.
Will the gentlelady yield for a moment, just to elaborate this point?
Absolutely.
The letter that you sent to Ms. Barrera said, if you fail to depart the United States within 33 days of the date of this letter, USCIS may issue you a notice to appear and commence removal proceedings against you with the immigration court. That's coming from USCIS. That's not coming from ICE.
No, that's all true.
Well, so in what sense are you not threatening to remove people from the country?
Well, again, I'm not an attorney, but words have meanings. What we indicate that is if they do not, what we indicate is that if they do not depart the country within 33 days in that paragraph, if they do not depart the country within 33 days, they may be issued a notice of intent a notice to appear. That is accurate. At that time.
Notice to appear and for the purpose of commencing removal
Right, but
proceedings.
it does not say they will. It does not say they must leave the country.
Okay, but, okay.
It's what it says. We're talking about the words.
With all due respect, Mr. Renaud, we're talking about people who have cystic fibrosis, childhood cancer, and so on. You're sending this to them in a change of policy, which clearly indicates that they're going to be removed or have a very heavy likelihood of being removed from the country. I'm going to yield another 30 seconds to my colleague. Thank you for
Thank you,
yielding.
Mr. Chair. For the questions that you've not answered based on pending litigation, do you actually know the answers to those questions? Do you know the answers and you're not sharing them, or you don't know? Do you know the answers to the questions that I've asked that you declined to answer?
I understand your question.
Okay.
I was trying to decide if I knew. I do not know the answers to all of your questions, no.
To any of them?
I'm sorry?
To any of them? To any of the questions that I asked regarding the genesis of this policy? Was it ordered by a political appointee? What office did this come from? How many cases have been processed? Do you know the answers to any of those questions?
I certainly think that without a pending lawsuit, I would be able to provide additional information.
I yield.